So we're gonna put Real Madrid to the ultimate football test today, my friends. We're going to lock them in the Premier League. La Liga is La Liga, but the Premier League is a completely different beast. As the seasons go by, will Real Madrid be able to dominate the Premier League? Will they be able to win the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup? Will they qualify for the Champions League through the Prem and win it? Every season, Real Madrid will have to get by the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, Spurs, even tricky sides like Nottingham Forest, Newcastle United, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Brighton, Everton, Fulham, Manchester United. They will have to play them week in and week out. If there is a club in the world that can be successful in this challenge, it's definitely Real Madrid. But you know what they say, assumptions are dangerous. There we have it, guys. The beginning of the 25-26 Premier League season, and Real Madrid, as you see it, plays in the Premier League. Now, unfortunately, I did have to substitute one team and put them in La Liga, and that was Wolves. I assume they're gonna do just fine there. And as we go along, if Wolves make it to some sort of European competition, I will definitely make sure to show it. We're off to the end of the 25-26 Premier League season, where Real Madrid has trophies on the line. Their reputation is on the line. Can they compete in the Premier League? 25-26, the season is over, guys. The FA Cup is done. The Premier League is done. The Carabao Cup is done. The Champions League has come to an end as well. Let's find out if Real Madrid was able to win some trophies. We start in the Premier League. The first challenge, Real Madrid top. Yes, actually tied on points with Liverpool. Liverpool gave them a very, very good run for their money. Real Madrid went 25-10-3, scoring 81 goals, conceding 41 on 85 points. Liverpool, the same identical record, but they had a plus 33 goal difference compared to Real Madrid's plus 40, so Real Madrid wins the 25-26 Premier League. Man City and Newcastle also had good campaigns. Arsenal finished in 5th, then it was a big drop off to 6th. Spurs, then Villa. Chelsea had a disappointing season. Nottingham Forest, a 9th place finish. Nice to see that. Man United in 12th, Bournemouth in 13th. They stay up. Now, who goes down? It's the 3 clubs that got promoted. It is Leeds United, Sunderland, and Burnley. So Real Madrid is 1 for 1 in season 1. We go to the FA Cup, where Real Madrid's journey started in season 3. They had to face Sheffield Wednesday. They beat them narrowly 1-0, advancing to season 4. In season 4, they played Watford, another pretty easy competitor, I would say, pretty standard. They beat them narrowly again 2-1, advancing to round 5. In round 5, Real Madrid, who did they face? Manchester United, and they defeated Manchester United 3-1 to get to the quarterfinals, round 6, where they faced Crystal Palace, and they beat them narrowly 2-1, advancing to the semifinals. In the semifinals, Newcastle United, they beat them 2-0. In the final, they had to play Chelsea, and there was 7 goals, 5-2 for Real Madrid. Real Madrid FA Cup champions in season 1, 2 for 2 so far. To be fair, in the FA Cup, Real Madrid luckily avoided Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool. Their 2 toughest opponents came in the semifinals against Newcastle, and in the final against Chelsea. Maybe if they faced Arsenal, City, or Liverpool, things could have been different. But we still gotta give credit where it's due. Can Real Madrid do a clean sweep in England? Only in their first season participating in England. We go to the Carabao Cup, where Real Madrid's journey started in the 2nd round. They had to face Bristol Rovers. And they... Here we go. Here's the first boo-boo, guys. They lost to Bristol Rovers on penalties. So Real Madrid does not make it further than round 2 of the Carabao Cup. The final eventually was Spurs versus Liverpool, and Spurs actually won the Carabao Cup 3-1. Bristol Rovers beating Real Madrid on penalties is peak cinema, man. Peak football. Now, because we switched Real Madrid to the Premier League, they didn't participate in the 25-26 European football season, so they will participate in the Champions League the following year. But who did they sign to bolster their squad? They made a total of 2 signings during the 25-26 campaign. One being William Saliba from Arsenal for 101.5 million euros, and also Javier Reed from Feyenoord. And 2 outgoing players as well. They got rid of Antonio Rudiger and Danny Carvajal, both aging. Rudiger went to Liverpool, Carvajal went to Chelsea. Smart business being done by Real Madrid. They're winning some trophies. They're performing well. But in season 2, they also have to compete for the Champions League. The end of 26-27, will Real Madrid keep winning trophies? Remember, they're participating in 4 competitions this year. The Prem, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and the Champions League. Well, in the Premier League, Real Madrid did not win it, guys. Arsenal actually won it on 81 points, followed by Liverpool. Man United made a crazy comeback, finishing 3rd. Then it is City, Chelsea, Chelsea, Newcastle, and only then Real Madrid. They dropped all the way to 7th. It's not a good campaign whatsoever. Spurs in 8th, then it's Palace and Forest. Villa dropped all the way to 11th. Brentford hopped into 12th. Fulham, Brighton, Bournemouth avoided relegation. So did Everton, Southampton, Leicester City, and Sheffield United. And Sheffield United, 2 wins on 15 points. Still 3 trophies up for grabs for Real Madrid, though. We go to the FA Cup. In round 3, they had to face QPR, and they beat QPR 2-0, advancing to round 4. In round 4, Real Madrid faced a bit of a tougher opponent. It was Brentford, and they beat Brentford 3-2, advancing to round 5. In round 5, they lost to Arsenal on penalties. They faced a tough one, and they lost it. Arsenal went all the way to the FA Cup final, where they had to play Manchester United and narrowly beat them 1-0. Arsenal won the Prem and the FA Cup. Kind of ironic, because Real Madrid bought Saliba from Arsenal last year, but Arsenal didn't need him. There's still a trophy available for Real Madrid in England, though, the Carabao Cup. I know it's not the most prestigious trophy, but a trophy is still a trophy. They started in round 3, where they had to face Reading, 5-1 annihilation, advancing to round 4. In round 4, Real Madrid, am I blind? Oh, they were right in front of me. Well, they lost to Aston Villa on penalties. Villa did not end up going to the final. It was Newcastle versus Chelsea. Newcastle, Carabao Cup. So after winning almost everything in England in the 25-26 season, Real Madrid wins absolutely nothing in England the following year. But all things can be forgiven, because Real Madrid is still playing in the Champions League. You can fail in your domestic league and cups, but if you win the UCL, you are still considered a hero. Let's see how Real Madrid did playing in the Champions League. Well, I can tell you that they didn't finish in the top 8. No, they did not. Liverpool didn't either, which is very, very surprising. Real Madrid finished in the playoff in 13th, below Nottingham Forest. They went 4-1-3 on 13 points. Because they went to the playoff, they had to face Villarreal over 2 legs to get to the round of 16, and they beat Villarreal 6-3 on aggregate, advancing to the round of 16. Then, wow, they faced PSG in the round of 16, and it wasn't even close. Real Madrid hammered them 5-1 on aggregate. They went to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and they had to face another tough opponent, Manchester City, and they beat City as well 3-1 on aggregate. Into the semifinals they went. They had to play Bayern Munich, and guess what? It's the story of Real Madrid here so far. They lost on penalties again. 6-6 on aggregate, 6-5 to Bayern Munich on penalties. Real Madrid wins a total of 0 trophies in the 26-27 season. The UCL final in 26-27 was Bayern versus Atletico Madrid, and Bayern beat them 2-1. Not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed in Real Madrid's 26-27 campaign. They spent a lot of money too. They brought in 3 players. They bought Antonio Nusa from Red Bull Leipzig for 62 million euros. They bought Joško Gvardiol from Manchester City for 92.7 million euros, and Jurasi from Borussia Dortmund for almost 90 million euros, and still won nothing. Like, even with their sales, yeah, they sold some players, but the quality still remained. Mendy went to Augsburg for 23 million euros. Fran Gonzalez to Paris FC for 2.4 million euros. Fran Garcia to Tottenham. And Endrick, they actually sold to Borussia Dortmund. Maybe part of that deal for Jurasi. One more, actually. Brahim Diaz was sold to West Ham United for 40 million euros. But still, these departures shouldn't make or break the team. They have so much quality. Looks like Xabi Alonso is still the manager, and his job is very safe, despite not winning a single trophy in the 26-27 season. While Manchester United's manager is actually Scott Parker. Yeah, Scott Parker. Chelsea is Diego Simeone. Liverpool is now Eduardo Coudet, and Arsenal's manager is Marius Kaminsky. Arne Slot is the manager of Tottenham now. And Ruben Amorim obviously was sacked by Man United. Now he manages Everton. This is a good one too if you want to see some random managerial hires. Ange Postecoglou manages Sunderland. And if you're wondering where Mikel Arteta went, guys, I don't know. I guess Arsenal didn't want him anymore. He's now the head manager at Lech Poznan in Poland. I'm not joking you. Look at the screen. Let's go to the 27-28 season, see how Real Madrid does, see if they can make a comeback, and we'll still keep an eye on all these random managerial changes because they're absolutely hilarious. The year is 27-28 and the season has come to an end, and Real Madrid do not win the Premier League once again. Liverpool wins the Premier League on 78 points, tied with Manchester City, but a better goal difference gives Liverpool the Premier League League title. Real Madrid finishes in third, but only 2 points back. They were in it the entire way, winning 21 matches, actually losing the least amount of matches out of everyone. They only lost 4 games, but they drew 13. Newcastle, what a year, in fourth. Then it is Chelsea, then it is Spurs, then it is Arsenal without Arteta. Man United is in 8th, and Forest is in 9th. Aston Villa is in 10th. Brighton, Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Leeds United, Fulham, Brentford, and the 3 going down are Sunderland, Everton, and Swansea. There goes Ange Postecoglou and Ruben Amorim. Both of them are relegated. Swansea City came up, but they didn't do so well. Only won 4 games. We go to the FA Cup. Real Madrid still looking for a trophy. They start in round 3 where they took care of business against Huddersfield 3-0. Off to round 4. They played Ipswich Town and it was 5-0. Oh my, it wasn't even close. It was over before it even started. In round 5, Aston Villa 4-2 for Real Madrid. They went to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. In the quarterfinals, they faced Stoke City 2-0 against Stoke City to the last 4, the semifinals of the FA Cup. They beat Manchester City 2-1 going to the final, while the other semi-final, Bournemouth, they beat Spurs on penalties. Please, 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 please. Ah! Come on! Come on! I don't care if Real Madrid doesn't win. Bournemouth wins. FA Cup champions. 1-0 over Real Madrid. One more in England available for Real Madrid. The Carabao Cup. Can they win the Carabao Cup at least? Or are they going to go trophyless 2 seasons in a row in England? In round 3, 4-1 against Norwich. Going to round 4. In round 4, Real Madrid 4-1 against Aston Villa. Going to the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, they beat Liverpool 3-2 against Liverpool. Going to the semifinals, they beat Blackburn, who made a deep run in the Carabao Cup, 6-1 on aggregate, going to the final where it was Newcastle versus Real Madrid, and the streak is over, my friends. Real Madrid does win a trophy, the Carabao Cup. You know what? Fair enough. They had a good season in the Premier League. They went to the FA Cup final where they lost to Bournemouth, and they won the Carabao Cup. Not a bad campaign. Now, because Real Madrid had such a poor 26-27 season, they only qualified for the Conference League, guys. And in the Conference League, they didn't even make the top 8. They finished in 11th, 3-1-2 on 10 points, only going to the playoff. In the playoff, who did they face in the playoff? Hibernian, and only 5-4 on aggregate. They still advanced, but only 5-4 on aggregate. Okay, they advanced to the round of 16. In the round of 16, they faced Başakşehir from Turkey, 6-1 on aggregate. They advanced to the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, bro, that's a letdown. 2-1 on aggregate. They lost to the Go Ahead Eagles from Netherlands. In the Conference League, the semifinals, Lazio versus Go Ahead Eagles. They lost in the semifinals to Lazio. Real Sociedad versus FC Midtjylland. Lazio versus Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad Conference League winners. Not Real Madrid. They lost to the Go Ahead Eagles. The Champions League, by the way, was won by Inter Milan over Borussia Dortmund. And now I'm going to show you something unbelievable, okay? Remember how we switched Wolves into La Liga? Well, Wolves qualified for the Europa League, my friends. And guess what? Wolverhampton Wanderers won the Europa League by playing in La Liga. So actually, because we switched Real Madrid and Wolves, if they played in opposite leagues, Wolves won a European title first before Real Madrid did. It's crazy because Real Madrid didn't buy a single player in the 27-28 season. They sold Alvaro Carreras to AC Milan, and Dean Howson came back to the Premier League to play under Ruben Amorim, who got relegated at Everton. Andre Lunin also went to Tottenham, and Franco Mastantuono went to Arsenal, and Eder Militao went to PSG. Man, they sold a lot of players in season 3. They really did, but still managed to win a trophy, the Carabao Cup, remember. Now for the most exciting part. I know you guys want to see what's going on in the manager market. Well, Xabi Alonso is still the manager of Real Madrid. And yes, Scott Parker is still the manager of Manchester United. Iraola won Bournemouth a trophy, so he's still there. While Ange Postecoglou and Ruben Amorim have not been fired, even though they got relegated. Not yet, anyways. Flick is still the manager of Barcelona. And Thomas Frank is managing Espanyol. Vitor Pereira is still the manager of Wolves, by the way, and he got him a Europa League title by playing in La Liga. We're moving to the 28-29 season, guys. 28-29. Remember that Real Madrid won the Premier League in the first season, 25-26, but haven't won it since. And they won't win it in 28-29 either, guys, because it was Manchester City on 76 points. Then it's Liverpool, and only then it's Real Madrid on 71. Arsenal, Man United, Brighton and Brentford are your top 10. Fulham and Forest and West Ham and Aston Villa sinking down as low as 15th. Bournemouth barely avoids relegation with Iraola on 42 points, but Watford, Ipswich, and Leeds United, they do not. Once again, Real Madrid leaves the Premier League empty-handed. What about the FA Cup? Well, they're gonna leave the FA Cup empty-handed as well because they lost to the other Bristol team this time around. They lost to Bristol City 2-1 in round 3. Remember, they lost to Bristol Rovers on penalties a few seasons ago, and now it's Bristol City's turn to take them down. Man City, by the way, did the double. They won the Prem and they won the FA Cup, but Norwich went all the way to the final and almost beat City. Same thing with Middlesbrough, actually. They went to the semi-finals and lost to Manchester City only 4-3, while Norwich City beat Man United to get to the FA Cup final. All right, guys, speaking of Norwich, we go to the Carabao Cup where Real Madrid was in round 3 once again to begin a journey towards a Carabao Cup trophy, maybe. But guess who beat them in round 3? Norwich City, 1-0. Norwich City, come on. The final was Man United versus Liverpool, and Liverpool won the Carabao Cup. So we go to the Champions League in the 28-29 season, guys. The most sacred European competition. All the failures in England can be completely forgotten if only Real Madrid can win the UCL. They finished in the top 8. Yes, they did. But ironically enough, Wolves finished above them. Yeah, because they won the Europa League, so they qualified for the Champions League, and in the league phase, they finished above Real Madrid. Nonetheless, both clubs went to the round of 16 of the Champions League, and that's fine. Let's see how Real Madrid did. Real Madrid, they lost to Manchester City on penalties. There they go. They're gone. And Wolves lost to AC Milan 4-2 on aggregate. Man City did the treble. They beat Juventus in the final, guys. Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League for Man City in the 28-29 season. Pep Guardiola is having a field day. Is Pep even still a manager at City? Yes, he is. Yeah, it's Pep Guardiola. He's still there. And Xabi Alonso, yeah, he's still at Real Madrid. Despite no trophies in 26-27, only a Carabao Cup in 27-28, and once again, no trophies in 28-29. It almost feels like Scott Parker is doing a better job at Man United than Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid. I think we've seen Man United go to more finals than Real Madrid has. And yes, Mikel Arteta is still chilling in Poland with Lech Poznan. Should we do one more season of Real Madrid playing in the Premier? I think we should. Let's go to the end of 2029-2030. 2029-2030 Real Madrid, I'm looking at you. You need to win the Premier League again, but you don't. And you came so close. Man City on 76 points with a plus 30 goal difference. Real Madrid on 76 points with a plus 28 goal difference. They lose it by a 2 goal difference, guys. Then it's Liverpool, pretty far back, 8 points of Real Madrid and Manchester City. Aston Villa, they made an amazing comeback from going 15th, I believe, up to 4th. And it's Newcastle, then it is Arsenal. Forest in 7th, above Chelsea. Brentford in 9th, Palace in 10th, Man United mid-table, Spurs mid-table. Who is getting relegated? Ruben Amorim staying with Everton. He stayed up. Bournemouth stayed up. Fulham stayed up. Southampton, Ange Postecoglou on a solid 21 points. And Norwich City, they came up and they're going back down once again. Honestly, I don't know how Xabi Alonso still has his job, but maybe because the UK, the Premier League, and English competition is tougher. You know, maybe it's just more difficult to win. Then we go to the FA Cup. They faced Barrow in round 3, 3-0. Off to round 4, they lost to Arsenal. Another early exit in a cup competition for Real Madrid. The FA Cup, they only managed to get to round 4. And actually, Aston Villa won the FA Cup over Newcastle United 3-0. If we're being completely honest, guys, the UK has not been kind to Real Madrid in this video. So we go to the Carabao Cup. They didn't win the Prem. They didn't win the FA Cup, maybe Carabao Cup. 3-0 over West Brom in round 3. Once again, off to round 4, just like the FA Cup. 3-1 over Brighton. Okay, so they advanced to the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, Real Madrid, they beat Norwich City. They got their revenge. They beat Norwich City 3-1. Going to the semifinals, where they beat Fulham 5-1 on aggregate. And Aston Villa beat Liverpool on penalties 6-5. So it's Real Madrid versus Aston Villa in the 2029-2030 Carabao Cup. Aston Villa already won the FA Cup, and they won the Carabao Cup as well. 1-0 over Real Madrid. What a season for Aston Villa, guys. 2 cups, and Real Madrid lose another final. They lost to Bournemouth. They lost to Villa. We go to the Champions League. Where is Real Madrid? They're not in the top 7th. They're not in the top 8. Real Madrid finished in... Bro. Bro, Madrid, 24th. They barely got into the playoffs. 2-3-3, only on 9 points. How has this happened? And in the playoffs, they lost to Bayern Munich 5-4 on aggregate. They didn't even make it to the round of 16 of the Champions League in the 2029-2030 season. Your final was City versus Leipzig. Leipzig went to a Champions League final. Man City, 2-1. How has this happened, man? Look at Real Madrid's squad. Everyone is still there. It's Thibaut Courtois, Fran Garcia, Josko Gvardiol, Raul Asensio is there. William Saliba, Tchouameni, Nusa, Valverde, Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, Vinny Jr., Kylian Mbappe. And yeah, Xabi Alonso is still the manager, and he's still apparently safe. Unai Emery, after struggling for several seasons, got Aston Villa 2 cups in the 29-20-30 campaign. Pep Guardiola kept on rolling with Manchester City the entire way. Scott Parker stayed with Manchester United. Arne Slot stayed with Spurs after switching from Liverpool. Ruben Amorim at Everton. Ange Postecoglou at Sunderland. You want to see the most random managerial hiring? Hellas Verona. Guess who their manager is? David Moyes. David Moyes in Italy, managing Hellas Verona. And yes, Mikel Arteta is still at Lech Poznan in Poland, guys. Some other fun manager names to keep an eye on was Eddie Howe. He switched to Al Ittihad in the Saudi Pro League. Bruno Lage was hired by Galatasaray. So Real Madrid was locked in the Premier League and in the UK for 5 full seasons, where they had the opportunity to win a total of 19 trophies, but they only won 3 of them. 2 in the 25-26 season, where they won the Premier League and the FA Cup, and 1 in the 27-28 season, where they won the Carabao Cup. That is all. They came close several times in the Prem and in Cup competitions, but they just couldn't get over the hump, man. So you guys let me know in the comments, how do you think Real Madrid would do IRL if they played in the UK? If they participated in the Prem, they had to fight for the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, if they had to qualify for the Champions League through England, would they be completely dominant, or what we saw here was pretty accurate? They competed, they were close to winning things, but it would be more wide open. It wouldn't just be Real Madrid dominating year after year, right? Take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of each other. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any other cool ideas that you want to see on FC26, please comment them down below and we'll make sure to do them, all right? Enjoy the day. Peace, 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 peace. I love you as always. Peace.